Okay, where to begin? Alright, so, first off, basic game plan, right? His neutral, like his buttons in neutral. Medium punch, very good. Medium kick, probably the safest thing he can do. Heavy punch, not as safe necessarily, but if you hold it for like a moment before swinging it when you think they're going to hit you with a mid, or you just swing it to try to get a counter hit at this longer range, etc. But more whiff punishable, and you can beat it on startup more easily. Crouch medium kick, also very good, but not as long as his stand medium kick. Forward knee is good in ranges where it won't be whiff punished. It can tag some actions, but pretty whiff punishable, pretty clearly whiff punishable. 33 frames in total. Forward heavy kick, very strong right now. Lots of ranges where lots of characters struggle to punish it. Very obnoxious tool. The biggest risk that you face with this is if it just the opponent moves around or neutral jumps in such a way, or if they throw in like a DI, this will lose to DI at any point along the way. Or at super high level, there could be players that will perfect parry it on reaction in neutral. But other than that, you mainly run into just getting stuffed by a random button buffered into drive rush at long range, if that's going to happen. Or if you need to avoid running into like an EX fireball or something. And those are the main things. His crouch jab is not as good as it was in 5, obviously. His crouch jab has a much bigger hurt box and less relative range compared to his other options than it had in Street Fighter 5. But still a useful tool, especially in certain things we're going to get into. Stand light kick, excellent, huge range. Relative to its range, 25 frames is really fast recovery. Good for harassment, but, it doesn't go into anything unless you commit to canceling it, which we'll get into later. But really good whiff punish tool. And then Crouch Strong is a good tool to augment some of his other actions. If he approaches on this space, knee and forward heavy punch are quite good. Forward heavy punch especially doesn't extend his hurt box forwards as quickly as a lot of his other buttons would, so if the opponent presses a jab around this spacing while you're approaching, there's a good likelihood that forward heavy punch will beat it. Heavy kick, only for specific whiff punishes or specific anti-airs. It's not something that there's much merit in just throwing out at random. And then, yeah, Crouch Strong is like one of his only truly bufferable moves into drive rush, so you can or into level 2. So it'll tag forward movement better than a lot of his other actions, and yeah, etc. His jump in buttons. A lot of people, there's a bit of a misconception, but yeah, his jump in buttons. Jump medium kick, great for forcing the opponent to do, if they're a DP character, it forces them to do full crouch inputs because it hits them standing really quickly, and it's good for beating certain jump-ins. Jump light kick actually hits the furthest down the fastest out of all of his jump-ins. It hits the most vertically downwards, even more so than jump medium kick. And jump heavy kick is, good action, good for lots of things, but it's not actually his farthest horizontal reaching. His farthest reaching is actually jump medium punch. Underutilized move. For instance, if we jump from this range with jump heavy kick not only has less range, but it also has more pushback as a heavy than jump medium punch would. So if we do jump from this range, we're not in heavy SPD range, but if we jump with jump medium punch, we are. And that will apply to any of our situations where we're doing safe jumps or pseudo-safe jumps, etc. Jump medium punch has less pushback and puts you in a more threatening scenario. And it just reaches slightly farther. His drive rush actions, he has a lot of... Oh, and his sweep, good for... I'll cover how punishable it is in the neutral and such. I've recorded every single character and their relative threat level for throwing out. Crouching heavy kick, great for the occasional checking the opponent low, great for whiff punishing, etc. And those are his main neutral tools. Now, in terms of special moves, you can also, or other actions besides Drive Rush, you can also throw in the occasional DI to augment his game plan and to force the opponent to have to react to something else, and also just to generate space even if they block it. You gain some ground, push them slightly more to the corner. It's not the worst thing to do. For beating certain buttons, you've got, let's see, block reversal, like a crouch medium kick or something. Forward medium kick will low crush at a certain range, but not immediately. You can't be at minus frames and then forward medium kick and still beat 7 or 8 frame low forwards, like so. That being said, you can do down forward heavy kick in niche scenarios. This is actually his fastest low crushing tool. It's actually even faster than jump because his jump startup is slower than a lot of other characters. So in situations where if he's -3 and the opponent does like a 7 frame low, he can't jump out of that, but he can do down forward heavy kick to crush them. That being said, hugely risky, incredibly punishable on block at any point. This move may be useful in certain extremely niche scenarios, but overall you can ignore this move entirely, I would say. The niche scenarios that I'm talking about where, let's say, if you're about like this distance from the corner, such so that it just wall splats just so at the right distance, then you can get a slightly more optimal conversion than you would have otherwise by doing something like that. And that's like a scenario where like your damage output is actually superior for doing that as the punish counter than like just, I don't know. Just, if something is punishable, punishing it with this at this range with that amount of resources spent makes slightly more sense than another punish counter route that you could do. But again, very niche, very thin range where this actually works, because if we're even slightly closer, we can't get the same great conversion. So, and then any conversion we could get actually after that point is not as good as just getting a normal punish counter with like forward heavy kick or crouching heavy punch or whatever now, so thanks to the buffs. So, you know, not a great move. When you're looking at his like footsies neutral or something, lots of things he can nicely whiff punish with that. Punish counter or just regular counter hit, the target combo works out. Whiff punishes with stand light kick, deliberate whiff punishes so that you don't accidentally get the whiff cancel and then waste a bunch of bar and at worst case scenario get punished as well. But yes, deliberate whiff punishes with this work very well. And then standing medium kick and crouching medium kick are like your safest options to just keep throwing out. Standing medium kick, its only weak point is that it slightly extends its low hurt box in a way that it doesn't for standing medium punch. But other than that, yeah, so if they throw in a lot of lows, standing medium punch is probably at least a bit better. You'll at least trade or win the scenarios. Standing medium kick will get clipped by low forwards, but other than that, standing medium kick beats everything and is very safe. Hard to whip punish, hard to beat, very good move. Stand heavy punch, good to throw in just for the extra space. It's not good to, like, it's not good to maintain your space at this range. It's better to try to fight at, like, standing medium punch range and try to do that more consistently. And then throw in standing heavy punch on occasion when the opponent thinks that they're safe because they're outside stand medium punch range and they get hasty and press a button. This on counter hit, excellent. Lots of things that you can do off of it to get a knockdown, get some space in, etc. Standing heavy punch, also a great tool to just shave the opponent's drive gauge on block. Medium punch will take about half a bar of their drive gauge. Medium kick, 0.6 bars. Heavy punch, also 0.6. So all these things really, really valuable. Crouching medium kick, 0.5. These are huge amounts of drive gauge you can shave off. If you can space this out and get them to block this, another 0.6. You can very frequently with Zangief, like, get into scenarios where you just, like, harass them with, like, a couple quick standing heavy punches in a row, and they'll lose so much drive gauge, they'll just, in, like, the blink of an eye, they'll be like, where did all my drive gauge go? That's crazy. So, you know, sparing it, especially great for harassing in the corner when they can't outspace it and whiff punish it. Just stealing their drive gauge over and over is incredibly strong. And then as for drive rush neutral, drive rush forward medium kick, very good. Can get stuffed by, like, if the opponent presses buttons. If the opponent, let me demonstrate by switching this around. So the hell? Zangief has, like, his basic options. If, the opponent presses any non-low button, or like, standing light kick, it doesn't have to be a low to beat the stand heavy punch. Like, this is not a low, but it hits low enough to the ground that it beats stand heavy punch's armor, and it gets kind of weird about that, but a lot of buttons that they're going to interrupt you with in the footsies range, or if you drive rush at them, stand heavy punch will beat, so he has that going for him. If the opponent is much more likely to throw out a low to beat you, like Jamie, for instance, a lot of it, like, his, by far and away, his most practical button to place to interrupt drive rush is low medium kick. It's faster than most low medium kicks at 7 frames, and has, like way more range than any of his other buttons that he could do for the same speed or faster. So, in this circumstance, against an opponent who's much more likely to throw in a low against you, doing the low crush options will blow them up really significantly. So that's one thing Zangief really has going for him in the drive rush department, is that he has both a mid beating thing and a low beating thing. And there's only some moves kind of in between that aren't technically lows, but that still beat stand heavy punch, that operate in between. So, for instance, Akuma, right, would probably... An Akuma player, I would recommend, if they were playing against the Zangief matchup, they should stuff drive rush with standing light kick, because it has huge range for a 5-framer, and it's not a low, so it won't lose to the low crush options, but it will beat the stand heavy punch. But yeah, other than that, you can, this is an incredibly powerful assortment of tools, and drive rush heavy punch is +1 on block. Depending on the range that you do it at, if you're within their 4-framer range, so crouching light punch, if you're within their 4-framer range, you're also within Zangief's 4-framer range, so you can check them with your own. Crouch light kick, stand light punch, and then it's your option, your choice of how you want to convert off of that afterwards. Etc. But if you're not in their 4-framer range, like so, there's nothing they can do against SPD except for try to escape it with a DP or a jump or a backdash. Thanks to the buffs, forward medium kick is now minimum, drive rush forward medium kick is now minimum +1 on block, so this is an incredibly brain-dead, powerful tool now. Drive rush, stand medium punch, very good for the +2. Even at this range, even if you're not close enough for the full target combo to reach, lots of stuff you can do off of the plus frames that you get from it. If it tags them and you're +6, even if you can't get the full medium punch target combo, if you're about like here or so, then like let's say you're there and you can't get the target combo, then you can almost certainly there, that's a good spacing for it. Well, I'm trying to not get it to be +9. There we go. That's like the spacing where it would hit, but it's not super plus, which doesn't really matter that much. And then you can, but you're still like +6 in this range. You can check with stand medium kick, and let's say the opponent tries to press a button or something. They would trade, the standing medium kick would trade with a 4-framer, and it would be, in terms of damage and frame data and drive gauge recovery, drastically in Zangief's advantage in this situation. You can also do a sweep at this range. This might be a bit close for a sweep against a lot of the cast, but this is another scenario where it will beat almost all the options they could do, or a slightly charged heavy punch. A singularly charged heavy punch or a slightly charged heavy punch if you have reason to believe that that would beat something that they're going to do or counter hit them. And then another thing we'll get into later, you have other options at this range, but this is a range where he would be dominant especially. So Drive Rush, this range, you're like +2 to +4 on block. Great range to do a lot of his other options. So that, just to throw it out, etc. That he can harass the opponent from these ranges. Drive Rush, crouching medium kick got buffed as well. By itself, it's kind of okay. Like, if you Drive Rush it like at the max range of it, and it's like a counter hit, you could get another one, and that would be the farthest frame reaching 9-framer that you could connect. That's not like, that's kind of a niche scenario. More importantly, you can Drive Rush much closer to them and get a Drive Rush crouch medium kick, and if it tags them low like here, you can convert with a stand light kick. Itazan, for instance, incorporates into a lot of his mix-up game. He does like down forward medium punch, and then he Drive Rushes into crouching medium kick, and that will keep it a true block string, so there's no risk of getting DP'd. But if they stand up to try to hold it, one, if they're holding up, it means they'll get hit low here. So I will say block. I don't do this a lot, very often. Block. Standing block only. There we go. Okay, so it'll catch them low here, and it's +2 on block, and you can convert it into down forward medium punch on hit, etc. So that's one of those other scenarios where the buffs to crouching medium kick are very valuable. Also, the value of... okay, I'll talk about that part later. Anyways, other Drive Rush. Drive Rush crouch jab is okay in certain instances if you're confident about your confirmability. It's more plus than any of the other actions that you could do, so if you just tag them with it on hit or on block, there's a good chance you can lock them down for something else. And if it's on hit, like there, that'll combo a little bit. If it's on counter hit, it'll go into sweep, etc. Depending on how dynamic your reaction speed is, there are ways that you can convert this pretty well. And then you have the Drive Rush button into Drive Rush. Drive Rush stand light kick by itself is not actually the worst thing to do. It creates an awkward range, and it's not really plus, but it's good for just a little poke and harassment. Obviously, I wouldn't do it all the time since it doesn't lead to anything immediate. But yeah. And then, of course, you also have Drive Rush forward heavy kick. Now, the worst this will be is -5. And against a lot of characters, getting punished at a 5-framer range, especially when you're not point blank, as you're not here, you're not in throw range, is not too bad. So, if you were... I was talking about how, against some characters that are more likely to interrupt you with a low in neutral, this is also a low crushing tool, and one that is incredibly rewarding when it does actually hit. So if they try to interrupt... Now, it low crushes a bit slower, so you'd have to do it from farther out or against characters with slow or whatever. But if it does hit... huge reward. Some of the highest reward you can get. Like half health reward. So in certain matchups where you think it's realistically possible to get a punish counter with a low crush on this and the Drive Rush forwards, and the punish is not that bad at the spacing or if it's misspaced or whatever, I would say that makes total sense to do in those matchups and situations. And also, this has the other benefit of if you drive rush at them and at this will tag any motion, any movement that they do. If they try to jump backwards, if they try to backdash, this covers that whole space of the screen. That covers this whole area, right? Moving backwards. Huge hit rate, yeah, very good. And it's an overhead. If for whatever reason they just don't stand block it, they don't, like, react and stand up, get extra damage there. Now, if you want to cut your momentum short, you can do it with a semi-charge or a full charge stand heavy punch. You can do stuff like that to bait them out, or just to try to get it. If you do the charged heavy punch, the fully charged one, it will have more range, so even if the opponent is walking backwards, it still has a good chance to clip them. And it's a lot more plus on block. It goes from like +1, like this, to +7, like that. It takes a whole bar of the dry gauge instead of 0.6. Regenerates you. Instead of regenerating you like 0.4 bars of drive gauge, it regenerates you like 0.6. So huge, huge reward if they're not checking this, or if they get, you know, the quick little stop in your forward momentum, psychs them out, they whiff a button, etc. Or on certain set play options, this is a thing that you can go for as a meaty, and if they don't parry it, or even if they do, if it's not a perfect parry, you still get a lot of value out of it. And yeah, off of the +7, again, at this space, you can pretty much control them with most of your options. So that's like most of the neutral, at least in the tool set, other than in theory. You have anti-air, EX anti-air, much more reliable, and gives better Oki, etc. You have your classic grappler archetype of forward jumping, jump short, jump heavy kick, jump medium punch, etc. And then you have, you know, empty jump command throw. You have jump in just to get anti-aired and like threaten the space. You have jump in a shallow range and then threaten with this. Lots of things you can do. So, as for his Oki, we can start getting into my notes. So, general Oki situations, things that you're likely to land in the neutral. Regular, crouching heavy kick, not a counter hit. You'll be about +32. I have documented various actions you can do. You can do forward dash, and then you're at about the normal footsies range that you would be. If you're about like here, you can do stand heavy punch. There's a slight gap, but it should tag them if they jump out. Depending on your range, you could go for another one of those. If you're quite far out like this, forward dash, not very strong. You also have forward medium kick. Okay, first I should talk about a couple little like tidbits of the character that are useful to know about in most situations. One, in terms of comboing into Lariat, obviously if you're not close enough for a lot of these things, it won't combo properly. Like so. So if they block after first hit, etc., a lot of things will drop annoyingly like that. Down forward medium punch. In almost every range and almost every cancel window, it will combo into Lariat no matter how late you cancel it, except for there. Max range, super late cancel. But if you're at close range, super late cancel is fine, and if you're at max range, immediate cancel is fine. And this will force the opponent to stand up. If the opponent is standing up, Lariat will hit them sooner. So, one thing is that the farthest button that you have that will conveniently combo into the Lariat is actually crouching medium punch. However, only on like a standing opponent. So if you hit like this, so if you hit them like this, I'll just do it like here. It whiffs like that, but if they're standing up at a range where down forward medium punch won't work, where stand light kick won't quite combo into it, you can still do crouch strong, forward lariat, and if they're standing, that's the farthest way you can convert into that. So in some situations, like if you land a really far jump in or something, like there with jump medium punch, if you see that they're standing, just do crouch strong lariat instead of trying to do like something else or feeling like you need a drive rush. You don't. If they're standing, you don't need to. Alright, next tidbit. Right. Here, I should pull up my notes so that I recall the tidbits. Okay, random idea, health stab, SPD, whatever, DI, some things, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, but medium punch, resets, float. Okay, that's not exactly what I was talking about. Anyways, let me first demonstrate what would happen for his drive rush pressure. This is a thing that's also very common and important to understand for playing the character and fighting against the character. So first, let's say that on block, the Zangief player does that, right? Or actually, first, let's say the Zangief player does that. Light kick into crouch strong. Next, let's say he does light kick into crouching light kick into like a down forward medium punch or something. Or sorry, let me do that into SPD. And then let me do that into SPD. I fucked that up. There we go. So the first thing, light kick into whatever. Characters with EXDPs or invincible level 1s that are convenient for doing this can just blow it up. They can just buffer, do like mash out a crouch input for the anytime they see a drive rush. This is obviously true of most of the cast, but it's especially relevant to Zangief, who doesn't have as many convenient ways of getting point blank. Obviously, if he could, he would be even more broken. So any of these fake cancels, anything of like a button into drive rush into SPD or into something with a frame trap, these all lose if the opponent buffers in an EXDP. Now, the next level of that, if that is something that happens, the Zangief player could do drive rush into DI, and that will beat the EXDPs. With some exceptions. It won't beat Guile's EX Flash Kick. I don't think it'll beat Chun-Li's. I don't remember, but I don't think. I could test it, but I'm too lazy to. But anyways, most of the time, the point is, Zangief doing this will lose to EXDP if the opponent is prolific in that. If they don't have a DP, and they're not pumping their level 1s when they have them to blow up these gaps, then as the Zangief player, just go nuts, because that means you get the most free fucking offense in the world. So next is keeping it a true block string with crouch light punch, or crouch light kick. Now, the next thing about defending against this is that there's no convenient way for Zangief to take advantage of the +1 in this range that he's at. This +1 off of the drive rush crouch light kick for the true block string, which is the only button that he can do in that circumstance to make it a true block string off of the stand light kick drive rush. So he only has access to crouch light kick, and it's not a very good option. It'll leave him +1, but it'll leave him +1 in a range where he is very weak. And in fact, the fact that he has extra plus frames from the drive rush cancel will hurt him in this situation, because it leaves him with almost, like, basically no option to frame trap you with the +1. Because he can't do another crouch light kick, because if he does that, it'll be a true block string, because it'll rapid cancel into it. So he would have to manually time a stand light kick, like, within a small frame value that's very easy to mess up, so that it's not rapid canceled, so that it's not a true block string, and that's only to get, like, a very small level of reward, and that's already off of a drive rush cancel, which is not convenient for Zangief to do, because he doesn't want to be doing a scenario where he does, like, let's say, block count 1 or 2. Zangief doesn't want to be in a scenario where he does, like... See? Even then, that was a true block string. It was still too early. He doesn't want to do that because, like, that's the reward that he got, and he spent all of his drive gauge on that. He had max drive gauge, and if he had anywhere below max drive gauge, he would have burnt himself out there. So, like, he doesn't even want to do that in the first place, even in best case scenario. But the point is that he cannot SPD you from this range. If he does stand light kick in a drive rush like this, 4-framers, with some exceptions, some characters have especially weak 4-framers, like Jury and Lily, who have very, very stubby short-range 4-framers. Against most of the cast, they will have a 4-framer they can do that will beat basically any option Zangief does here. So, first, pump the EXDP against this, and if he does a true block string, just mash 4-framer. And that will beat the majority of what Zangief can do here. The next option is that. So I did the same thing. I pumped the EXDP, then I pumped the 4-framer to interrupt the stand light kick +1, and instead he did this sequence, which is into that, which is crouch jab, which is another +1, but because it's farther away, the stand jab won't beat it this time. So if I were to demonstrate, there, I hit jab, but it lost because it wasn't close enough. It still counts as counter hit because it was during the active frames, but it's basically a punish because it whiffs. But yes, the point is that it counts as a counter hit because they technically hit on the same frame, and if they were actually colliding, the strike would win, but whatever. The point is that that is a range where SPD from Zangief will actually work. That being said, it is a range where he's only +1, and he has very few options that will actually punish the opponent from backdashing. So this whole sequence, stand light kick drive rush from Zangief, everything I did there, see my inputs, that is an option select that will beat every option that Zangief has in this sequence. Alright, I input the DP with a crouch input so that if he puts any gaps, it'll blow him up. I input the stand jab in case he tries to SPD me or do anything else after the crouch light kick, and then I input a backdash after the crouch light punch. That will mostly cover almost everything Zangief does in this scenario. So, against opponents who do this full sequence, you would have to do very, very deliberate things to punish them for these behaviors, such as doing raw, like drive rush cancel into raw DI to beat these, the DPs or something. Which, you know, I think people could get away with doing more often with Zangief. This is actually against players that are consistently EXDPing these gaps. This is a pretty good tool, but it does cost like 4 bars of Zangief's drive gauge to even do this. And if he's wrong, then he might lose even more drive gauge. Because, like, if the opponent knows that he's sometimes looking for this, and they just wait and then counter DI him, he will go from max bar to, like, literally being burnt out in one action. So that's why there's extra risk associated with this option. Anyways, that is the reason why, overall, that sequence of option selects and not quite ideal scenarios for Zangief is the reason why stand light kick by itself into drive rush against characters that can do this and players that will do this consistently is not the strongest option. So that is what you would need to understand about Zangief's mix when fighting against him or when using him. Anyways, what next? Right, let's just go through the Oki setups. I will post this to like a fucking Google Drive or something. I've not been doing that recently, and I should. I don't think I completed all of these, but like this is a good framework, especially. Some of these are just random stream of consciousness thoughts, but whatever. These are my notes. This is how I do this shit. I'm not very organized. Well, organized than most people, but not very organized relative to what I would like to be. Anyway, so, right, if you just land crouching heavy kick by itself, Sometimes you might be at a good space to do an empty jump. Depending on the character and whether their anti-air will still tag you at that range, or if it turns it into a guessing situation for them. You can do forward heavy kick meaty a lot of the time at a range where it won't be punishable on block. But you can hit it especially meaty if you're like anywhere near there. You can do drive rush, and then you have some options off of that. So off of this, you can do normal drive rush Oki into strike range or meaty light SPD. Now you can do this from very far away. Now this brings me to my next point, and I already made a video about this like several months ago for Lily, but this is like even more salient for Zangief. The buffered SPD technique. Because normally, if you drive rush and then once you get into range of SPD, if you try to input it, you kind of stop for a moment and the momentum of your drive rush kind of cuts out. So it doesn't keep going. So what you actually want to do to make sure that your drive rush goes as far as possible before throwing them is drive rush. And then, as you see my inputs, drive rush, input a full circle, like right there, just so that you can do the full input and then finish it before any motion that you do will knock him out of it, like there. So drive rush, full circle, let him walk and let him run, and then press your button. Press your punch button within like a certain number of frames, and that way you'll get these 1-frame SPDs. And that's the way that you get your peak Oki from these situations. That's how you can consistently get meaty SPD there. Buffered SPD technique. Vital for his mix to thrive at its optimal way. Learn the buffered SPD technique. Anyways, so there's some of these situations I've categorized Oki for Zangief consistently into situations where, let's say, he can get a drive rush into like maybe a button, maybe a forward heavy kick or something, but not much more than that. So, like if he's like at this range and he lands that, then he can do that. And, you know, it's kind of loose. So overall, very little things he can do off of this Oki. If he gets like just whatever into Lariat, right? Or let's say like crouching medium punch Lariat, then he can drive rush and get a meaty. But if the opponent jumps out on their wake up, he's not going to be able to tag them with something more valuable. So see, he's not quite close enough to tag them from the jump out with that. Before they get airborne. So if he's not in range for drive rush stand medium punch to work, then he's in range for drive rush stand fierce to maybe tag them in case they jump out, or drive rush crouch heavy kick, or drive rush overhead. And he's certainly not in range for the SPD to reach. So that's like one type of Oki. Then if you're slightly better than that, which is like off of here, I would say in these ranges you can get drive rush into the stand medium punch target combo as your meaty, and you can usually at these ranges get a buffered light SPD. So that at least will force an actual mix-up between strike throw, and of course you can block if they DP, but that will give you these knockdowns with drive rush will give you strike throw. Then you have like other knockdowns, other Oki scenarios where you can get a meterless situation. So for instance, if you get like anything like this into down forward medium punch into EX Lariat, you can forward knee, and then you're in range to do some actions. I mean, if you do like stand medium punch, you'll beat them if they try to mash out. Whatever. The important point is these are ranges where you're close enough that you don't need to use drive rush, and you can still get into SPD range and strike range. So in this range, you could tag him with that if you were willing to spend mortar bar. you could just tag him with something else like that into an immediate drive rush. Or you could try to tag him jumping out with some other option. And off of VX Lariat as well, against characters that don't have frame 1 invincible anti-airs, these are scenarios where you can get force them to block a jump in. Now again, I think the most rational jump in to use in these mixed scenarios would be jump medium punch. It would have less pushback, so your mix-up would be better, and it hits slightly more horizontally and slightly further downwards than jump heavy kick. And then the next Oki scenarios that you would get would be like scenarios where you can get like a strong meterless mix. So like forward heavy punch or heavy SPD or even suplex. And those are like the main Oki scenarios that I would think would be unfolding. Anyway, so let's continue. So, right, off of crouching heavy kick, you get drive rush, strike throw, or strike throw. Off of counter hit or punish counter, crouching heavy kick, you have a couple situations. For instance, you could do a, if the opponent doesn't have an EXDP or something and they wake up with that, you can get a meaty drive rush forward medium kick that will still block the wake up drive reversal, and then you can punish that with whatever, with probably SPD or something into level 2. Anyway, so right, off of crouch light kick, with crouch light kick, you can dash up for +5, whatever. You have these options. You can whiff crouch light kick, then drive rush. You can whiff a crouch light punch and then walk backwards for a shimmy. You can wait and just block or something, or do a delayed action. You can do forward medium kick. It'll be +8 on hit, +4 on block, and it'll block the drive reversal. You can do forward heavy punch, +14 on hit, which will allow you to double up on it. So if they jump out in this scenario. If they do jump out in this scenario, let's say, then you get a double forward heavy punch combo, which will give you huge value, huge reward. And of course, obviously, you can just SPD. So that's a mixed scenario you can create off of that with a specific whatever. You could forward jump. A lot of Zangief players will do like the simplest route possible here. So a lot of Zangief players, they'll get like a punish counter with punish. They'll just do forward jump and then they will leave it at that. They'll do this off punish counter. So they'll like forward jump and then it says -1, but you're actually +2 here. So they'll just do like whatever. Right, and then you can try to manually delay your forward jump for non-invincible DPs. You can do a drive rush and manually time your meaty. You can do an empty drive rush and then just forward jump over them to throw bait them, etc. Like so. So, you know, lots of options. I've tried to layer in, you know, as many theoretical options that I could imagine as possible that seemed like they could have value. So I will this time actually remember to leave this in like a fucking Google Doc or something so that you can take a look at it, look through. You can add whatever you want, I guess. Normal Lariat. Okay, so normal Lariat, very shit Oki. So normal Lariat, very shit Oki, generally speaking. You really only get like drive rush into like into a meaty, but you can't get into throw range, etc. So you get dash up +5. You could forward walk if you just want more drive gauge. One thing that you can do is it will regenerate you a bit more drive gauge too. just forward walk, because forward walking builds you the most drive gauge per second as opposed to dashing. I don't know, very, like, niche scenario. Right, one other thing that I wanted to point out about Zangief is that his fastest, other than just drive rush, obviously, his fastest horizontal movement across the screen is actually forward medium kick. So, the fastest he can move horizontally across the screen without drive rush is not dashing over and over. It is actually forward medium kick over and over. The distance relative to the speed of the action is better for forward medium kick. So in a lot of these Oki scenarios, if you want to just close as much distance as possible, as quickly as possible, forward medium kick actually more distance per speed. So, you know, keep that in mind for just taking up space on the screen, etc. If you just want to move forwards in some way, forward medium kick is faster than forward dashing, and it's faster than forward jumping. So if you're just like far away from the opponent, you just want to move forwards, just whiff some forward medium kicks. It's the fastest you can move. Alright, so normal Lariat Oki, drive rush, stand heavy punch to check for a counter hit and be pretty safe. Stand medium punch, but not close enough to get the target combo. Crouching medium kick, maybe, whatever. You can do a very delayed action if you wanted to, etc. This is not like a good Oki scenario. And then obviously the main thing that people would do is drive rush, light kick, drive rush, which is legitimate Oki. It just costs a lot to do. And it's not like the most rewarding thing, but it's totally worth doing a lot of the times, because as we'll get into later, the value of the strike damage is not really what's most important. So, very close Lariat Oki, you can just get a forward jump. So if you get like this into that, you can get a meaty forward heavy kick that'll tag them even if they back roll. So that's pretty useful. You can do a forward jump, etc. You can drive rush into better options. If you're very close, the target combo from standing medium punch will reach, etc. Blah, 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 blah. All the fucking routes. EX Lariat Oki is significantly better. EX Lariat Oki, especially when you get both hits. You can do forward medium kick, and then you'll be +5 in SPD range. Or you can get drive rush and get much better Oki than you would normally get off of regular Lariat. So you can get drive rush into a buffered SPD. I did that slightly too early. Oh, too early again. There we go. Drive rush into a buffered heavy SPD, etc. From farther away, EX Lariat will give you slightly shittier options. So this is like if you get like this, then you might have to do a medium SPD instead of a heavy if you want it to be meaty. Again, with the buffered technique. Forward heavy kick. Right, a lot of the times if you tag them with one forward heavy kick, you can just drive rush again and do another one. Pretty good in some circumstances. Or you can just take the forward medium kick to move across the screen, etc. Meaty, drive rush. Right. Okay, so there's some meaty scenarios that I haven't talked about, like off of EX Lariat. If you do drive rush forward heavy kick, you will hit it at like a super meaty frame and block after first hit. So this is a scenario that you could create if you just want to tag them not blocking overhead. It's only -1, but you're outside of their 4-framer range. So if you're fighting against a character that can only do a 7-frame medium or slower, a 7-framer or an 8-framer or whatever at this range, or they're only likely to do that, you can just do this into this -1 and then just SPD them. And if you're a real fucking asshole, you can also just level 3 them. Anyways, so that's one set play option that you have available to you. At further ranges, it'll still work, you just won't be quite as close, but yeah, even off of like this range, I think you should still be in range for light SPD. No, not quite. Anyways, but you're still in range where Zangief's footsies work, etc. You have better options. It's just if you think the overhead might clip, or you might trick them with the spacing or frame data. Off of light spiral or light SPD has slightly better Oki than all of his other SPDs. His medium, heavy, and EX all have the same Oki. Light is 2 frames better. It doesn't fundamentally change what you can do with it. It's just a bit easier to do drive rush, stand light kick, or forward heavy kick, or like drive rush, stand heavy punch, or whatever. But anyways, yeah. So SPD, not the best Oki, etc. Down forward throw, ridiculously good Oki. Even without punish counter to force them to stand up, you get forward dash, and you can get a meaty heavy SPD or a meaty forward heavy kick. Sorry, forward heavy punch. So very strong Oki situation. I put other theoretical things you might want to do, but that's really like the only thing you actually need. Down forward throw with a punish counter. I put the other things you can do here. Down throw in the corner. So there's 2 throws that are like good for putting them into the corner. There's back throw, like straight back throw, and then there's crouch down throw, which will do that. So the straight back throw leaves you much closer, so you're +8 and you're in SPD range and you're in down medium punch range, but unless they crouch block, which they don't have to do. See, this is the thing, is that if they crouch block, they will block the down forward medium punch, but if they don't crouch, it won't reach. So you would have to do crouch and medium punch and a drive rush or whatever to get Oki from strike Oki in this situation. I don't think this is always the best thing you can do if you can back throw them into the corner. Sometimes I would say crouch throw actually makes more sense, because you're +14. You're much farther away, but you're +14, which means that you can get drive rush Oki that they have to respect. So they have to respect drive rush up to 7 frames. So you can do that. And you can do drive rush whatever. And at this range you can do SPD. Or at this range you can do, you know, any other number of options. You can do drive rush SPD, or you can do drive rush down forward medium punch, and then single hit confirm that. So in some scenarios you might prefer that Oki if you're back throwing them into the corner. Running bear grab has excellent Oki. Well, here, hang on. Running bear grab has excellent Oki. So if you get like EX running bear grab, you get excellent drive rush Oki. You can drive rush and you can SPD them, or you can strike them. Off of suplex, all suplexes have the same Oki, and it's very good. In this, you can forward dash and you're in light SPD range. Or you can drive rush and get a an immediate, oh my god, forward medium kick, and it's preset so that it'll leave you very plus. You get like a good reward off this. You can also, again, it's what, +26, right? So you can do forward medium kick, and that will be quite minus in this scenario. Anyways, whatever. It's good Oki. The point is that it's very good Oki. So if you can punish with a command grab, not only does... Here, let me demonstrate. So SPD will build you like this much drive gauge back and that much super. It'll build you like 2.8 centimeters super. Suplex will build you more drive gauge back, a lot more, and will build you a lot more super and give you much better Oki. So even though it does like a couple hundred less damage, suplex, unless damage is the only thing you're worried about in the current situation, or you don't want to side switch them, if you're like pretty close to cornering them or have them in the corner, suplex is the best command grab punish, or just command grab to land raw by itself. It's just hard to get into the range, and it's 10 frame startup instead of 5, so it's slower. But yes, if you can land it, suplex is much better than SPD. Anyways. Right, then what? Level 1 Oki is pretty much the same as running bear grab, which means that you can drive rush and get strike throw Oki. like, good strike throw Oki. Or pretty good. Not the best. You can't get all the way into forward heavy punch, but pretty good. Let's see. Level 2, you have a lot of combo route options off of. Air SPD is whatever, etc. Very similar to grounded SPD. Unless you are, like, in the corner yourself, there are scenarios where air SPD will not go back as far. So let's say you get, like, a punish counter and you do that or something. You will actually be much closer in air SPD because Zangief won't move back as far because he's already stuck in the corner. And I guess they just didn't account for that for this particular situation. So in this scenario, his Drive Rush Oki is actually much stronger than regular SPD. So he can get Drive Rush Strike Throw. In fact, he can probably just walk up an SPD. Anyways, but that's like a kind of niche scenario. It won't happen that often, etc. And if you get a clean punish counter, you would probably prefer to back throw them into the corner. Depends on the situation, whatever. Anyways, off of your level 2s that you can get. Level 2, any of the just like default animations that you get from this, like playing out the full animation, like shit Oki. Very, very weak Oki off of all of these. But yeah, if you wanted to do the full sequence, there's a couple things to point out. So Drive Rush, dash up, Hell Stab into that. It'll hit the Lariat at the latest frame possible, so it'll actually give you not too bad Oki. You can forward knee, and you'll be +5 in light SPD range, so you can check them with down crouch medium punch. One thing is if your opponent is like really holding up, so hold up there and then hold up after damage, etc. Doing crouch strong into DI or down forward medium punch into DI will tag them if they continue to hold up. So long as you can integrate that in situations where where it's not obvious and the people won't be prepared for it and you're not going to get reversal DI'd from it, then it can be a convenient tool to stop people from continuously holding up, and it won't cost as much as a Drive Rush cancel. But anyways, so yeah, off of this scenario, you can tag them with a medium punch, and I think medium punch target combo will work here. Hang on, I don't remember. Let's say they do wake up into a button. Wake up, crouch jab, right? Yeah, okay, so if you get the counter hit, you can work with that. If they back jump, you can do another forward medium kick, and then you can anti-air them. You can Drive Rush into a standing heavy kick if you want to, so into whatever else, depending on how close you are to the corner. That can be a useful thing. And of course, you know, that's like more like loose ways of beating that. Of course, you can just SPD. There we go. I was fucking that up. I was worried for a second that I had just been spouting bullshit. No, yeah, you can SPD there. Anyways. Right, other options that you have off of level 2. Oh shit, I accidentally saved this. Fuck. If you just want pure Oki without spending any more bar, you can do stand heavy kick, and then you can double dash, and you're in light SPD range or meaty stand heavy kick range, or forward heavy punch range. So that'll be good for the strike game. Or if you just want like a true like close range, you can do that. You'll be +2. You are not close enough to convert off of crouch short to a full meterless conversion there. but you are in heavy SPD range. There are some scenarios where you can get safe jumps off of this. I wrote them down, but off the top of my head, I don't remember what they were. Yes, that is plus 42, so that should be a safe jump. Jump medium punch. Yeah, probably only works closer to the corner. I think I wrote down something else that works there. Anyways, whatever. Fucking whatever. This is actually not true. It's the same as running bear grab, not suplex. Right. Then you also, off of level 2, you can do forward heavy kick into a drive rush forward heavy kick if you really want like some space towards the corner, etc. Or if you don't have the juggle points. For instance, if you get like an anti-air EX Lariat into level 2, or if you get like one of these scenarios where you get like a punish counter off of one of these options and then you go into level 2 and you can't get the same options as usual. What? That is supposed to work. Come on. You can do forward heavy kick, drive rush, forward heavy kick, etc. But yeah, anyways, you can also just take this if you wanted to. Kind of silly too, etc. If you want some extra corner carry, you could do that, and then that will leave you at plus 40, whereas the usual one will leave you at, what? Plus 38. So you can just do the same thing, but there, and then you can dash up and be, what, like plus 16 or something? Or you can be like plus 7 at this range. Yeah, it depends on what you want to do, or how close you are to the corner, etc. So you can dash up and be plus 16 back here, which is not close enough to do anything unless you're closer to the corner. This will leave you in a nice jump-in range against characters that don't have an invincible anti-air, so... Against that, which I have labeled, it's like slightly over half the cast don't have a convenient anti-air there. So I will highly recommend abusing shit like this against those characters that can't deal with these jump-ins all the time. Because it's just way more free Oki and free like mix scenarios and free drive gauge gain for Zangief compared to characters that can just DP him here. Right. Now, as I already talked about in my math video where I was explaining like what I was doing with these calculations here, let me scroll down. Yeah, these calculations down here and stuff. And these equations. What I was actually calculating here. I'm not going to go through all of that. You can rewatch that video for my explanation of what math I was using to calculate and how I reached the conclusions and the logic that I did. But anyways, these are like mixed scenarios and what you can get off of these. Meaty knee, plus 4, whatever, blah blah blah. I have all this fucking shit. Important points that I would like to point out. One is that if you can get just like a light kick or like a crouch jab, stand light punch into drive rush, whatever, in the majority of circumstances, do not just do this into Lariat. Into down forward medium punch or the stomp into Lariat. It is statistically, I have the math that I demonstrated in my previous video to demonstrate that it makes infinitely more sense for Zangief to just do drive rush, crouch jab into nothing. And just take the plus 10 and then mix. It makes infinitely more sense for his character in terms of generating more drive gauge, restoring his drive gauge with the potential of the mix he gets afterwards, and his damage potential off of any mix-up that he gets or any pressure that he gets to damage the opponent's drive gauge on block by making them block forward heavy punch, etc., stuff like that. Relative to the risk of missing a command grab, relative to the risk of getting EXDP'd, all of that factored in. I have the equations and stuff. And I have like the relative rates of success for which landing mix afterwards makes sense and will lead to a statistically superior outcome than having just taken the guaranteed damage off of this, which is shit damage and shit Oki. So, in general, I would say any of these random confirms, dry brush, crouch, jab, that is your fucking go-to. That is your default. Doing the full dry brush combo is shittier than doing EX Lariat, and doing EX Lariat is shittier than doing dry brush, crouch, jab, in terms of your mix potential and the relative value and how successful you have to be for it to be worth doing. This is the best thing you can do. Dry brush, crouch, jab. It looks stupid, but this is by far the most statistically rewarding thing for its potential afterwards. It also helps that it's a standing reset, so against characters without DPs, you don't have to worry about drive reversal, because they can only do it if they wake up. They can't do it if you standing reset them, which is also true for his level 2. If you do this and then dash up forward medium kick, standing reset them, and they are now in, I think they're in suplex range. Yeah, they're in suplex range. So you can mix them with forward heavy punch or suplex. Etc. So, yes, those. So, EX Lariat Oki that you get with dry brush afterwards into a buffered SP. I fucked that up, but I fucked it up again. I messed it up. I am so bad. Why am I so bad at everything? You can probably get a heavy off of that. Anyways. The mix potential off of that, good, but not as good as dry brush, crouch, jab. Especially if you're in range. You can't do this if you're like far out from here. You would have to do like heavy SPD or even medium SPD from out here. But if you're like closer up, if you just get like a jump in short and you just do that, you are totally in range to mix them with suplex. And the value potential of suplex is even higher than heavy SPD. You regenerate like all your fucking drive gauge instantly. I keep messing it up. There we go. It's not hard, I just wasn't doing it correctly. And then, yeah, whatever. So, scenarios where you can get into suplex range. Anything into dry brush stomp is suplex mix. Anything into very close dry brush crouch jab. So, for instance, one scenario where you might be like, oh, if I get like a standing light kick and I get a counter hit, I might as well go for that because that'll be better damage because I get the full medium punch combo, right? No. Still better. Still statistically better by a significant margin to do just crouch jab into mix-up. Way fucking better. If you land counter hit crouch strong and you could go into this full combo right here, right? Statistically better to just leave it at forward heavy punch and then mix. Part of the reason why that is that any mix-up that you get afterwards, after the fact, will regenerate you like all of your drive gauge back, whereas completing the combo won't build you shit. So, that's one reason, is that not only the mix, but even if you just go for plus frames and pressure, even if they block after the fact, if you do this, it's like whatever, but if you do that, you like take over a bar, like 1.3 bars of their drive gauge, and you build back like a bar of your own drive gauge just on that on that scenario, and you can still mix from there. It's so much better, and I again, in my previous video, I explained all the calculations and how I measured everything and what the logic is, but yes, this is my like #1 criticism of Zangief players, is that they haven't done the math to see that this is actually fucking busted. Yeah, medium SPD at that range. Right, as for... Yes, okay, that I have explained myself. That's, like, most of the, like, advice that I have. You know, other than that, it's just things that Zangief players already do. It's like, oh, you know, if you get the stun, there's, like, these niche combos that you can do. So if you get the stun and you're like kind of near the corner, just hold up back, just jump backwards, and then do a Lariat when you land, and then the very easy routing that you can get off of that. So you can either get an immediate down forward medium punch into an EX air SPD, and that'll give you like higher damage than you can get for any grounded combo. Or you can do a delayed, crouch that into the EX Lariat, like that, into the air SPD, and that'll do more damage. If you're not going to spend any bar, then it makes more sense to just do the normal combo like that. But anyways, yeah, there's also like some more bizarre combos that you can do off of like specific setups with like, I don't know, they don't work very well in my opinion. Yeah, they're kind of iffy and weird and niche, and they kind of suck in my opinion. Anyways, the other main advice point that I have for players using Zangief, other than that point, which is that you're all doing bad fucking Oki routes and drive rush routes, and you should be going for these resets that are incredibly strong. And here I put like all of the basic mix that you can get in any situation, +1 when you're in their 4-frame range, +1 when you're not in their 4-frame range, etc. Drive rush off of this and what can blow it up, etc. Resets +6, resets +10, +4, etc. Whatever. Stomp is really good. Okay, there's some things that will like, and then I put also, not here, these are routes from various whatever, and then this is like my math that's proving how some routes are better than others, assuming the rates. With the meaty landing combo, landing a combo 18% or more of the time, drive rush forward medium kick is performed after the EX Lariat knockdown. SPD only blocked knee land 70% of the time or more to be statistically worthwhile. 17% plus 18% is 35% for both positive outcomes that will yield a positive value relative to the true combo route. So as long as it's under 50%, it's mathematically worth doing. Obviously, when we factor in human behavior and the salience, blah 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 blah. And anyways, so I have the statistical values of each theoretical thing that you might do. And then down here I have like all mix potential. I have like +6. What can you get if you're in +6 in heavy SPD range? These are all the things that you can get. You can get down forward medium punch and then look to single hit confirm it, which is an important skill. If you want to go into level 2, I would not recommend pumping level 2 and then trying to single hit confirm it off of this. Because it's a lot slower than Lariat by 3 frames, so it has a higher likelihood of dropping. If you want to go into level 2, do this, and then look to single hit confirm into EX Lariat, and then just do the EX Lariat into level 2, and that'll be much better. So anyways, yeah, so +6, true frame check, so you can do down forward medium punch, single hit confirm it, and if you don't, it's -3 on block, and but it puts you at a range. So let's say you do this, and then you do this, and you look to single hit confirm it. If it doesn't happen, you're at -3 in this range. Now, if you're at -3 in this range, it depends on the character. If they do a 6-frame mid-hitting move, or slower than a 6-frame, stand heavy punch armor will beat it at this range. If they do a low that is like 8 frames, you would either have to perfect parry it or drop kick it, which I vastly recommend perfect parry over that, over drop kick. But yes, and if they don't have like a convenient 8-frame low, oh right, if they have an 8-frame low like he does, so like off of this, you can also just tie in your 4-framer, and then that'll mix him here, etc. If they have a 7-frame medium kick, low hitting medium kick off of this, then this -3 situation is not quite as good for Zangief. Right, anyways, so at this range you can do a micro walk, crouch light kick, stand light punch to catch them low. and combo that into regular Lariat. You can do heavy SPD. You can do stomps if you're +6. So, for instance, where would you be +6 off of? Because that's +4. Right. Anyways, so drive rush into crouch into stand jab, I guess, is +6. Kind of an awkward scenario. Not really what I'm talking about. But anyways, if you're +6, then you can do stomps. And stomps are pretty good, because if you do one stomp by itself, then you have options for the frame trap, etc. Like so. So stomp, and then you can go into that. If you really want to play around with whether or not they're going to punish it, you can do the full stomp sequence, and even though it is -10, it's only -10, it's not like -20 or something, so you can threaten to do a delay cancel into Lariat instead, and that will beat them if they try to punish you. So you don't necessarily have to cancel and spend all your drive gauge if that's wrong. If your stomp is wrong, you do have some other options that you can make obnoxious for the opponent. Anyways, so yes, if you do that and it's -4, you know, stomps overall I think are pretty good. And one thing that's good about stomps is that if you just do a single stomp by itself, it's +4, so you can convert off of it with the crouch light kick into that. So you can just do stomp into nothing, and then you can still convert off of it, or take the plus frames and go for something else. And if you do stomp, this is the great thing, is that you can just loop this scenario over and over, because if you say, if you do like this, right? And then, so let's say you did like this into counter hit, whatever. Right? You can stomp to... Not off of that specifically, because that's so plus that you can just get the stomp combo anyways, but like anyways, for case in point, if you mix them and you're like +6 or more, you can stomp to beat them from jumping backwards. Let me do back jump here. And then you can confirm off of that with whatever, but also you can just keep mixing them. You can either go for an SPD off of the +4, or you can just stomp again, and even if you're +4, and they can jump out of your stomp, one, stomp will hit them if they backdash, and two, you don't go anywhere when you stomp, so you can just anti them with stand heavy kick anyways if they back jump. It's pretty good. Right. Stand medium kick trade. If you're at +6 and then you do stand medium kick and they do a 4-framer, you'll trade in a way that will give you a lot of damage. Standing heavy punch, charge armor through a mid poke in case they do a delay, crouch jab or crouch medium punch, etc. Regular forward throw or down forward throw, whatever, crouching medium punch DI. Moves that you can do at +6 that will beat specifically back jump and backdash, but not buttons. You can do forward medium kick. Now, forward medium kick, you only need to be +4 or more. Here, hang on. On block. +4 or more will be enough for back medium kick to beat jump outs. So, I think that's the... No, it's not. Fucking fuck. So if you're +4 or more, forward medium kick will tag them if they jump out. So you can do this. It's safe on block if they don't do anything and they don't press a button. If you get a hit or a counter hit on the ground, you can go for a mix. Well, if you get a no. Even on counter hit, it's still going... Well, okay. Ignore me for a second. But anyways. So yeah, if it hits, you can continue to mix them. It'll tag them if they backdash, unless you're quite far away in such a space that your forward medium kick will whiff. But yes, this will reset them if they jump out, and it'll reset them at a range that is like +16. So you'll get an even meteor or whatever that'll be like +7 on block, I think. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. Why would it be +5? Why would it... Okay, what... fuck it. That doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. That should be +7. Oh, right, it's because when the jump out occurs, the game kind of lies about what the frame data is, so it's actually +14. Anyways. Right. So forward medium kick, if you're +4 or more, will beat, back jumps, and if it's close enough, it'll also beat back dashes. If you just walk forwards, this is one technique. So another technique you can do for blocking EX reversals. but still SPDing, is you can do a forward into down back. So forward and then rotate to down back, and then do a back to up forward or to up back afterwards. So you can just do this and then after a moment do that, and that'll allow you to be blocking and then just hit up and punch for the SPD. So that'll allow you to delay SPD and still block reversals. So you can do that when you're mixing the opponent up as well, to like catch them from whatever, is you can walk forward slightly and then rotate backwards, and then if you practice enough, let's say they back jump and they either do that or back dash. If you're close enough, this would make more sense off of like this scenario. I keep messing it up. There's a way you can input it that you won't accidentally get whatever. I'm kind of out of practice because I labbed this scenario like a week and a half ago or something. I haven't done this in a while. There is a way that you can just pump for an SPD or heavy kick a back jump. It's actually more probably off of like drive rush scenarios. So like if you do like something like this and then you drive rush forwards, you can see if they backdash and then just SPD them, or if they back jump, you can heavy kick anti-air them. Oh, oops. So that's a punish, etc. So if you use the screen freeze, this is the same thing I talked about with Lily, but it's it makes sense for Zangief as well, and he can do it with delay walks and stuff. So that's like one technique that you might apply. Kind of requires more effort on you than is maybe necessarily worth it a lot of the time, but whatever. Other things that will beat back jumps and back dashes, but not buttons. Forward heavy punch. If you're +6 or more, so not if you're +4, forward heavy punch won't beat back jump. But if you're +6 or more, forward heavy punch will tag back jumps. And then if you're fighting another Zangief or someone with a slow jump startup, you can be like +5 or +4 to do it. So at +6 or more, forward heavy punch will tag back jumps and back dashes. You know, forward walk, delay, crouch light punch or crouch light kick, and then pump standing heavy kick or SPD. So that would probably look like, if I add this on again, it would look like that. So I'd walk forwards into this. I would do a delay jab, and then I would standing heavy kick the anti-air. Again, this probably makes more sense if you're going to do like a drive rush or something. So like yeah, like so. If you're like very close to the opponent, doing like a micro walk into that makes more sense. And then you can cover both of those options as well. So that's another theoretical option you can go for. Delay drive rush. That's what I just demonstrated, where you do like forward heavy punch, then you do a delay drive rush, and the screen freeze of the drive rush will let you see if they back jumped or back dashed, and then you can punish it accordingly. And if they just sit there blocking, you can like SPD them or do a 4-framer or whatever. Dash up and then pump the... So this is another thing that you could do, is if you're like +4 off of this, you can forward dash. You'd have to be +5 or more, because if you forward dash and the opponent has like a normal back dash, then you would have to be like more plus than that to be able to punish them. So yeah, that's a punish. So you can backdash and pump the SPD, and if you see that they backdashed, you can SPD them. And if you see that they back jumped, you can heavy kick them, etc. So that's another one of the theoretical options that you could throw in to try to beat their escapist movements. And then you could do a delay down forward medium punch. So this is again another option that you could do if you're very close to the opponent. Rather than just doing immediate down forward medium punch like that and then single hit confirm it, if you do a delay down forward medium punch. If it hits them on a backdash, you just single hit confirm it like normal, like that. But if it hits them on a jump, you get a lot more reward than you would from the single hit confirm regularly. So delay down forward medium punch will hit much harder in case they are jumping out a lot. Only beats back jumps and not backdashes. Pumping a level 1 for the anti-air. So this makes sense. You just do the plus frames, you do nothing, and then you pump a level 1, and then you catch their jump, etc. Obviously. Or forward jump, and then pump an SPD input, so that if you see that they jumped along with you, you can punish them like that. And if they didn't do anything like that, you can just come down with a button. Only beats back jump. Charged heavy punch. So this will beat buttons that are not lows and backdashes. So if you do like plus frames off of this, charge heavy punch, and if they do like say a delay crouch jab or something, or an immediate crouch jab, you can punish it. And if they do a backdash, you can punish the backdash. So that'll be both of those options. And it's not unsafe to back jump, like if you do this and then you let it go early, depending on how close you are when you do it, and what the opponent's jumping buttons are, they might not be able to punish it, but it's a bit riskier against back jump. Then other actions based on that are not punishing those actions, but will still take advantage of the opponent sitting there and blocking. Forward medium kick on block, whatever. Walk up suplex, in case that you're not plus enough to do. So if you're plus 6, which is not plus enough to do a suplex naturally against a 4-framer, you can steal another turn with another forward heavy punch. You can do charge stand heavy punch, semi-charge or full charge, etc. At plus 7, suplex becomes a true frame trap. At plus 10, forward heavy punch becomes true. If it trades with a 4-framer, you get a huge trade combo. At plus 4, crouching medium punch will trade in a way that is dependent on what character you're fighting, but generally speaking, if you're plus 4 and you do that, what's a fucking plus 4? Oh, right. So if the opponent does that, and then you do crouching medium punch, depends on which character you're fighting, but a lot of them you should be able to confirm with something. And then at plus 3, down forward medium punch will trade. It is like 1 frame better on trades than crouching medium punch, so this would trade with like plus 7 in this instance. Anything below plus 4 and forward medium kick will no longer tag jump backs. And then this is just more calculations to determine which routes are superior to others. Value damage, this is based on my this is, you know, some of my calculations and stuff, and where my value appraisals lie. And then we have fucking, who can Zangief mix with max range jumping heavy kick? Right. So this is about... So this scenario is, who can I jump at like the far range of jump medium punch? Like so. Well, actually, no, this is based off of like this. So regular Lariat into, I forget the scenario, whatever. But this is like, who can you empty jump, basically. It's like, who can you set up a jump where you can empty jump them and it's like whatever, and it's like a whole fucking thing. So right here at this range makes the most sense. So, oh right, it's annoying to do this because then you're, so you can get this and you can get a max range jumping medium punch in case they don't walk backwards, or you can get an empty jump SPD. And then I recorded all the characters that have anti-air options at that range that will consistently do it, and I recorded them based on whatever else. So the characters where it makes sense to do it against, Kimberly cannot anti-air you at this range unless she does standing heavy kick, which will lose against the jump in button if you do it early. And then Aki, all of her anti-airs will lose at this range, so you can empty jump her for free at this range. Ed, all of his ones will lose, etc. Anyways, I recorded which characters, what their options are against those like max range jump, medium punch, or jump heavy kick, empty jump, light SPD situations. Backdashes. Which backdashes are the hardest to deal with in terms of speed, immediate motion, overall timing, etc. These are the like what's harder to punish, and I recorded these here. Who can Zangief get soft safe jumps on? So this is like off of scenarios such as EX Lariat or off of his level 2 conversions or whatever when he's like plus 40. What is this? Is this plus fucking 38? So like plus 38 to plus 40, etc. Not a true frame safe jump. But anyway, so I recorded who he can safe jump on. Manon can EX Ron Point. Kimberly can EX Tatsu. Marisa, only if you press a button, she can counter it with like a super or whatever. JP, again, if you press a button, but if you empty jump, you can bait him out. Honda can EX Headbutt you. And then Zangief could armor it with standing heavy punch, but it wouldn't be very good. And you would still be able to punish him anyways, so not much. Etc. So, no, you cannot soft safe jump on them. Yes, you can kind of soft safe jump on them, or it's not that good for them to, or they're not that likely to anti-air you. And then, yes, you can just consistently soft safe jump on them. There's jack shit they can do, except for try to perfect parry the jump in, and I put those there. Punishes on Zangief's sweep. I recorded all the characters and what options they have to punish Zangief's sweep, his crouching heavy kick. Which characters have, like, what ranges they work at. Luke can level 1 at max range on, so this includes regular crouching heavy kick or driver's crouching heavy kick, which is like -9. And then I recorded all these here, so you can look at these. And then this is all the theoretical scenarios, so this is one thing that, like, I've been obsessing about in this game, which is getting opportunities and value out of your supers. Because, like, for instance, I would watch fucking, like, I've been watching tons of super high level, like, the highest top 5 ranked Zangief players in the world, etc., and consistently, like, just going over and over and over their matches and recording exactly where they use their supers, where they had a chance to use their supers but they didn't, how much super they're wasting every match, how much super they die with without spending it, where they could have spent it earlier, all these situations to determine the overall level of current waste with how much people are not getting worth out of their super generation. So these are all the scenarios where I think are realistic for you to have an opportunity to get good value out of your supers. Actually, with Zangief in particular, because his whole game plan is whether or not he can strike the opponent, these are like his only opportunities to land supers. His only realistic ones. So, the opportunities to land level 1. And if you have an opportunity to land level 1, I think, unless you're, like, never going to win this current round, I think any chance that you have to get level 1 is worth doing. On one of these. So, pump level 1 to beat jump ups. Punish counter crouching heavy punch. So I also started recording some of the sweeps in the game. You can punish counter with crouching heavy punch. It's 11 frame startup. You can shimmy, and if you get a shimmy and you see that they whiff throw, you can punish counter crouching heavy punch, and that'll allow you to go do a route into level 1 where you couldn't otherwise. So any situation where you can imagine getting a punish counter crouching heavy punch. It'd probably be hard to use it as a whiff punish unless you have a clear opportunity. You could also get it on a lot of perfect parry situations. If you perfect parry a medium button or something, or even a lot of light buttons, you could just do an immediate punish counter crouching heavy punch. But then with all the scaled damage of a perfect parry combo, I'm not sure whether or not I think it's still worthwhile to do. It still gives you good Oki, but I still don't know whether or not off of a perfect parry I would still consider it to be obviously worth doing. So anyways, punish counter crouch fierce is an opportunity. Punish, counter, stand, heavy kick. So some situations you can whiff punish with stand heavy kick against certain standing buttons, and then if you're quite close to the opponent when you get it, you can just do a level 1 immediately. If you're quite far away from the opponent when you get it, I don't think it works the same. So yeah, then you do drive rush into, depending on the distance, you could either get light kick or down forward medium punch. Into it, still worth doing overwhelmingly. Shimmy, crouch fierce, punish counter into the level 1 combo. Punish counter DI. Anytime you land a punish counter DI, you have combos into level 1. This is like your normal forward facing one. You do neutral jump into the jumping headbutt into that, and that'll be your most valuable. If you wanted to get like more corner carry first, you could do some other fucking route, I guess. Or obviously everyone does like the side switch route where you do this, and then that's really good as well. So that's another opportunity. Punish counter DI to land. Punish counter forward heavy kick. So anything that you land with this, cleanest and most desirable outcome to get into level 1. This one's a no-brainer. That fucking damage. Low crust. So just punishing things that are like minus 24 or more. This is one thing that you might be confused about. This move says that it's 22 frame startup. It won't actually, that's in terms of its air hitbox. It won't hit a standing opponent until frame 24. So minus 24 moves or more you can punish with that. Into level 1, you can try to low crush them into level 1. Drive rush forward medium kick as a float. Okay, so this is a mixed scenario where, let's say you get like the opportunity to mix the opponent like this if they hold up, right? If they're holding up. But let's say you have a level 1, it might make more sense to tag them holding up by doing a slightly delayed forward medium kick so that it floats them out of the air and you can go into level 1, which you couldn't do if you keep them on the ground. So that's another mixed scenario. Delay forward medium kick from drive rush to float them. Tag moves out of float state. So if you're fighting against Cammy, if you like tag them out of a float move, and or Dulcim or any character that like has a move that if you hit them with a normal, it puts them in a float state. Drive rush forwards into whatever you can reach. Usually stand light kick into level 1. So now those are all the realistic opportunities to get level 1, and those are all the places where it's super valuable to do so. All right, places where it's valuable to get level 2. Lights, EX Lariat, level 2. Next, anything you can do naturally into like a medium into level 2. Buffer, crouch medium punch in neutral into level 2. Whiff punish something. Withstand light kick or crouch jab. Punish counter, stand light kick, level 2. Punish counter, crouch jab, level 2. So those are all the places where it's totally makes sense to do so. In these level 2 routes, I would say it doesn't make as much sense if you already have full drive gauge, because like the main value of all of these level 2 routes is that you get Oki and you get like a great scenario and stuff without spending drive gauge. So, and you regenerate like a shitload. So like let's say you get like a crouch jab with punish into level 2. Look at how much drive gauge I mean. In fact, I need to put it even lower so that it. So crouch jab with punish level 2. And you get mix and you have like almost still full drive gauge. So that's like the enormous value you get from level 2. And so if you already have full drive gauge, I'm like, they're not quite as valuable, but they are still worth doing. Because statistically, even if you do a drive rush cancel into a combo with a level 2, like so, it's much worse because you don't regenerate any drive gauge during this, but it's still worth doing for the setup. It's still statistically more valuable by a significant margin than not doing it. Relative, in terms of my value calculation, you'll still be getting like 1,000 fucking value per bar of super, which is way more than you would ever get with Cammy. Pump level 2 for reacting against fireballs. Anti-air level 2 with anti-air EX Lariat level 2. This you don't get as good of combos off of, but you still regenerate some drive gauge and whatever, and you can go for a shittier combo, but still into like a good setup. I don't remember what the setup is. I don't think I actually recorded that, but whatever. Figure it out yourself. I did all the other fucking knockdowns. Right, crouching medium punch or down forward medium punch, buffer and neutral. Down forward medium punch, single hit confirm into EX Lariat. I forgot to put that. Down forward medium punch, EX Lariat level 2 is another situation. The punish counters. Any confirm that you can get normally. Drive rush combo. Anytime you can do the drive rush combo when it will corner them with the extra corner carry. And you don't have to spend more drive gauge to get a good mix-up. Any combo that you can use the pseudo-safe jump on them to, like, just get some free fucking offense. So to get, like, a pseudo-safe jump, etc. Level 2 route when it will put them close to burnout, and then you'll still get Oki afterwards. Level 2 if you need to use the side switch. And then as for level 3s, any situation, the scenarios where it's realistic to use it. If you're creating a mix-up scenario, and you just open them up with it. If you just raw drive rush, and you do the double pump buffer, and then you just keep running, and then level 3, that's also a good place to use it. The invincibility and the mix and the command grab aspect of it. Reversal level 3 on defense, not just wake up, but if like an opponent is really abusing like medium drive rush into mixing you up, you can level 3 them there. Combo into level 3 in certain situations. Yeah, I was pressing the wrong button. Etc. And then forward medium kick on block, or like any of these scenarios where you can like force yourself to be close enough. You can do like this and then into minus frames and then level 2 and then level 3. So these are like the realistic scenarios that I think you can land his supers. I would recommend any of these scenarios except for these, which are conditional. But any of these other scenarios where you have like a shot to do any of these situations, you should take them almost every single time, unless you're probably never going to win this round and you don't need to win this round. Just do them. Just do them. You are infinitely more likely to never have a good opportunity to use your super for the rest of the match than you are to spend it on these great scenarios, but then wish you hadn't spent them later on. That never fucking happens, okay? That's incredibly... So, just do them. My methodology, not just for Zangief, but for every character, but especially for Zangief, if you get a chance to do these, just do them. And when you have a level 1... especially when you have, or you're close to having level 2, specifically orchestrate your game plan around creating these opportunities where you can spend a super in a good way. So more crouching medium punch buffers, more whatever. You don't want to wind up where you have level 3 and you're stuck with level 3 and you're losing out on all the super you would have built if you didn't have level 3, and you never get a fucking opportunity to land any of your supers because you're just stuck playing neutral. Anyways, that is most of my points. Yes, and I will make sure to remember to have this text document available somewhere. Fucking somewhere. Anyways, that's my advice. Zangief is super fucking cool, bro.